Yeah. Hey guys, Kelsey here with Jericho. Mr. Fussy Butt, he's getting sleepy. It's not time for his bedtime yet, but he's still starting to get sleepy, so let's go ahead and do my video since he's still awake. And the topic this week is about our pregnancy, and mine was actually fairly easy in terms of complications and things like that. I didn't really have any. I found out I was pregnant on February 6th, 2012. At about 2 o'clock in the morning. For about a week, I had been having extensive pressure and pain in my boobs. So I figured might as well just take one, doesn't hurt anything. Probably not pregnant anyway. But the pain was something I hadn't felt before, so that's what made me think I needed to test. So I had to go digging for the pregnancy test I had because I've been trying for so long I gave up. But I found one, I took it, and at 2 o'clock in the morning I rushed in the bedroom and said, DJ, do you see this pink line? It's very, very faint, and he did see it, and I started crying because I've been trying for so long and it finally happened. Whoop. I went to the community pregnancy center, took a test there, they confirmed I was pregnant. And then I told everybody I knew that I was pregnant. And then I made an announcement on Facebook. I'll go ahead and post a picture of the test that I took that I swear I saw a line, and I did. I've tweaked it, but it's how I announced I was pregnant on Facebook with that. The only real major symptoms I had of being pregnant was the breast pain, the breast pressure, and morning sickness. I puked my guts out for probably about 6 or 8 weeks until it was about 13, 17 weeks. I know at 17 weeks that was when I stopped getting sick, but I was getting sick during the whole beginning of my pregnancy. About 5 weeks in, about 2 weeks after I found out, I knew I was having a boy. Some women are just more in tune with their body and just know. I had an overwhelming feeling come over me, and I knew I was going to have this little guy, all boy. I went to the ER at 15 weeks with severe cramping and pain and pressure, and they told me that I had round ligament pain as well as just fractured hips, I guess. So they did an ultrasound at the time to find out what's going on, and they asked me, what do you want? And we were looking at the screen, and I said, I think I'm having a boy. I really don't care, but we want a boy. And she was like, well, it looks like a boy. And so at 15 and a half weeks, I knew I was having a boy. And then at 19 weeks, almost 20 weeks, they verified that I was indeed having a boy. Did we know we were going to name him Jericho? No. The name we had originally picked out was Brian Liam Scott. And with that, I actually talked to my aunt. And I knew Brian wasn't the right fit, so I talked to my aunt, and I said, what names do you like? Because my aunt and my uncle are very important to me. And so I talked to her, and she said that if she had ever had another boy, she would have named him Jericho. And when she said that, it went off in my head. I was like, okay, I like that name. Later on, I told DJ that Brian Liam Scott was not working. It wasn't the name. I wasn't going to go with it. And so he and I sat down and talked about it. I said, well, what about Jericho, Malachi, or Gage? And DJ didn't like Malachi. I like the name Malachi. Gage and Malachi have been on my list since I was very young. He said he liked Jericho, and he liked Gage. He couldn't decide between the two. So we came up with the idea of, since he chose the middle name of Brian, the first middle name, I said, what about Jericho for the first name? He said, okay, I like that. and I suggested putting Gage in there because my uncle had suggested it, and Scott is my uncle's name. And so I figured Jericho, Brian, Gage would be the good decision since it honored my aunt and uncle and his dad, who passed away a couple years ago. We had gotten the name all situated, and we knew we were having a boy, and we ended up having a Looney Tune thing. As you can see, I've got Looney Tune up there. He usually has a Looney Tune sheet on his bed, but it got washed, so it changed. Hey, YouTube doesn't want to see mommy's boobies. I didn't have any major complications. I had round ligament pain. I was measuring ahead most of my pregnancy. I was measuring ahead by 3 weeks. When I was 39 weeks, I was measuring 42 weeks, almost 43 weeks. And they thought that something was wrong. So I did another ultrasound, and everything was fine. He was just a big baby. At that time, they measured and guessed that he was probably about 8 pounds. And I was like, okay, that's a big kid, not looking forward to that. I was 9 pounds, 6 ounces when I was born, and DJ was just over 7. So if you can imagine, that was freaking ridiculous. I was not wanting a big baby, but that was kind of what I was stuck with. At my 36-week age, I don't know, I had Group B strep, which is not an STD. It's a bacteria that is released from the mother's rectum, and it originates in her intestines, and it is very dangerous to the newborn baby if the bacteria gets into his system. They decided that they would have to do some more tests. I had to get the Group B strap done 3 different times because the first time they didn't get enough sample. The second time they needed to redo it because they didn't get enough of the sample to test with antibiotics. So you have to get antibiotics when you get in the hospital to have your baby. And they found out that because I am allergic to penicillin, that they had to give me something else, and they had done the test to find out about the Group B strap, and come to find out, I was allergic to all of them except for clindamycin, which is one of the top gun bad boys for antibiotics. And even now, after I've had him, that is what I take for antibiotics. It leaves a horrible taste in your mouth, even after you've swallowed it and everything else. And when I had it in my IV, when I was induced, it burned. I had to get an ice pack and put it on my hand because it really hurt. Speaking of being induced, 39 weeks, 6 days, I was sitting in the hospital. They had, the day before at 39 weeks, 5 days, they had done a urine sample because I had gone for my 40 week, and they found out that I had preeclampsia started, which is a dangerous dangerous disorder for a pregnant mother, and it's very dangerous to the mother and the baby. So they decided to induce me, and he ended up being born the day before his due date. We're gonna go ahead and do next week our labor and delivery stories, and that will be where I'll explain how my labor went, all that, how I felt when I had him, things like that. I didn't really feel a connection when I was pregnant to him. I just kind of was whatever. I didn't feel any different. I didn't have the connection when I was pregnant with him. A lot of women know that they love their children when they're pregnant, and I was ecstatic when I saw the pink line. I loved him the moment I found out, but I didn't feel like he was mine. I felt like I was just carrying the baby. The baby would eventually be taken from me, you know, like go to another family. My biggest cravings were Pepsi. I craved that for like the last 2-3 months of my pregnancy. I used to beg people to bring me a giant Pepsi from Circle K in those Polar Ice 44-ounce cups, and that would last me all day long. I craved bean burrito, the red sauce on them from Taco Bell. I lived on bean burritos for quite some time at the very end of my pregnancy. That's all I wanted. What else did Mommy crave with you? I didn't like pickles at all while I was pregnant. They made me sick the whole time. And I grew up, and when I was growing up, a restaurant that I used to go with my mom, they knew me as Pickle Girl. I ordered pickles all the time. I still am not too big on pickles, but I still like them. I think having him kind of ruined my pickle taste buds. I craved beer at one point. I'm not a beer drinker anyway, but beer is just, hello. Beer is just no. Kind of gross, to be honest. My weirdest thing that I did while I was pregnant was I was at a barbecue about probably 6 or 7 months pregnant. And they had homemade guacamole and ranch. And so I dipped my hot dog and bun into the guacamole with the ranch. Oh my god, it was amazing. Alright guys, if you have any questions, comments, topic ideas, we'll go ahead and review everything you guys tell us. Ow! Ow! No. So, we'll go ahead and talk to you guys later. You say bye-bye? You say bye-bye? Yeah, you say bye-bye. Bye guys.
Everybody needs inspiration. Everybody needs